there is a lot that goes into building a building. And so we're going to be walking through step by step the order of operations that you should follow when you go to build a building. And we're doing this thinking mostly about like somewhat conventional buildings or tiny houses that are stick framed, but natural buildings will mostly follow the same order, although there will be some variations. Like there might be a situation like if you're building a cob building in a wet climate, you might choose to use posts and put the roof on before you build up the wall systems. But generally, this is the order that you should follow. So the very first thing that you're going to do is observe the site. So observation and figuring out what style of building is going to make the most sense on that site. And then you're going to work with design. So you're going to be designing your building. It's best to design your building before you start your building. You might tweak the design a little bit as you go, which sometimes is inevitable, but you want to have a basic idea and design before you get started. Next, you're going to do site work. So if there's any earth moving that needs to be done, whether that's with machinery, heavy machinery, or whether it's by hand, you want to do it before you get started. I've seen people like go ahead and build a post foundation and then be like, oh my gosh, I could have all this space for storage under my house if only it was dug out. But then you're digging out in this like very uncomfortable place and position. So way better to do that site work before you get started. And then the next thing that you're going to do is build the foundation. And there's lots of different types of foundations that I'm sure you have really learned from the foundation class that we offer as part of this course. So there's lots of different types of foundations, but you want to start with the foundation. That's very important. And then you're going to do the floor system after you do the foundation, and then the subfloor on top of the floor system. Then you're going to be doing wall framing. And in this case, you're going to be doing stick framing. These are studs. And so you're going to be framing your wall. And while you're framing your wall, you will usually put the sheathing on your wall before you erect your walls. And so this is what we're going to be doing during our tiny house class. Now, that's not what you're going to be doing if you're doing one of these naturally built wall systems that is another class in this course, but somewhere around here, you're going to be erecting some sort of wall situation that is going to be holding up your roof. And then you're going to be building your roof. And so your roof might be rafters, made up of rafters with rafter blocking, or it might be made up of a truss system, which is usually you purchase trusses, but you can also make them yourselves. And trusses can make a lot of sense for gabled roofs, and they use smaller materials to be able to span a larger amount using the glory of triangles. And then after you put up your rafters or your trusses and blocking, if you have it, then you're going to be doing your purlins or roof sheathing. So it just depends on what type of roof you're building, is whether you want to do purlins or roof sheathing. And most houses nowadays tend to do sheathing, either with boards or more often with some sort of sheet good like plywood. But in barns and sheds, some sheds and old-timey houses, it's often done with purlins, and you block in between those purlins if you, like on the edges of the building, if you're using purlins. And then you're going to be putting on your roof metal or whatever roofing you might be using. Most of you, if you're going to be building a house, I imagine are going to use some type of roof metal, but you might be using something else, like I said. And we have this wonderful class about roofs, which Danielle teaches, so make sure to check that out. It's part of the course. And then after the roofing metal, then you're going to install your windows and your doors. And when you get to that point, you are going to be in such a state of bliss because you have now gotten your building dried in. And so getting your building to this point is really less than half the work, but it feels really, really gratifying to get it dried in. And it means that the building's at a point where you can take a rest and stop and regroup or make some money to be able to finish the rest of your building.